Shall we debate this then? Not between us, don't worry. We're going to get some other debaters on, because joining us now is the podcast host of the trans lobby, Freda Wallace, who thinks the court ruling is wrong, and the chair of the Women's Policy Centre, Paola Diana, who thinks the court ruling is right. Well, there's the simple. Paola, why is it right?
Well, it's right because everyone knows what a woman is. The Gender Recognition Act 2004 invented this certificate, the gender certificate, and it's a legal fiction. And it doesn't fit for purpose. It created legal problems because it undermined the law. And the Equality Act, in fact, was confusing. We saw a lot of activists and feminists were actually had to go to court to establish that their view that sex is real and matters in law and in life was actually a good thing to say and not some legal fiction. So everyone knows what a woman is. Today is a great day. And I think this is the time for this government to repeal the Gender Recognition Act, because the gender certificate has no value in law.
OK, well, shall we let Freda Wallace come back on that, Freda?
Well, thanks for letting me on, because it isn't often that transgender people get a voice in the media like this, and it's only me that's probably mad enough to do it, so hello. Yeah, I think this is an attack on the equality law. I think it's a misogynistic force, because what are we doing here? We're talking about what a woman is. It also affects the definition of men. It affects trans men. Nobody's talking about that. The reason people are asking what is a woman all the time, and they're reducing women's bodies to, you know, biology all the time, and it's a reductive argument. What it does is it removes the humanity from the argument. You only have to watch when somebody brings a bit of light to this argument and maybe questions the motivations of J.K. Rowling or Maya Forstadt, whoever it is. They get piled on so hard on social media that it's almost unbearable. So there is no balance here. The power is with those lobby groups. They're not working on behalf of women. We know that because women's groups don't support them. The Forset Society, Sister Space, they don't have anything to say about this. Why? Because they don't have time for this, because they know that institutional and systemic misogyny isn't coming from trans women, it's coming from, you know, this is why shows like Adolescence are so important, because they show where misogyny lives in society. You know, that's why we talk about this stuff. Now, this affects me personally, directly, but you know, in my social life, in my general life, people don't call me a woman. They don't say, look, Freda, you're a woman. They just treat me as a human being. We don't communicate like that.
OK. Freda, we'll just leave it there for now, but we'll bring you back in, of course. Paola, do you want to respond to any of that? There's quite a lot there.
Well, of course, I'm afraid the language he's using is completely wrong, because misogyny...
Paola, can we just be respectful, please?
I'm very respectful. I'm very respectful.
I've seen your YouTube channel. It's not very respectful.
I'm afraid I don't use gender language, and no one can force me.
Well, nobody can force you to do anything, but it's politeness in social settings, isn't it?
Let's let Paola continue. We have freedom of speech in this country. Paola.
Yeah, so this is freedom of speech, so he's a man. So I don't care if men use the word misogyny just out of context. So misogyny is a behavior against women, and women are adult human female. So women who are born female. It doesn't matter how much makeup you have. It doesn't matter how much plastic surgery, let me speak.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much plastic surgery. It doesn't matter how your hair looks like. It doesn't matter. So we are very happy for any man to dress as they please. But we don't want men to start invading our spaces. And regarding to the so-called trans men that I have to explain the public to understand what it is, they're women identifying as men. No one is against them, of course, but they don't have the same problem, and because men are not attacked by the rights of these people as much as women are, because we know that women are threatened every day by sexual abuse. And so the Gender Recognition Act, through the gender certificate, was posing a threat to women, because was creating a loophole in the law. And any man, any pervert, any killer, any pedophile, any rapist could have just said, oh, I feel I'm a woman today. I want a gender...
Paola, that's not how the law worked, is it? I mean, we saw that there are transgender people who say that they're transgender women who are ending up in male prisons, certainly in England, because that's how the law has been interpreted by the UK government. The Supreme Court today has affirmed that interpretation of the law. That's how the law has been.
There have been transgender women in female prisons. Sorry, Paula.
Exactly, Emily. The law has been interpreted very badly, I'm afraid, Tom. And that's why this court ruling is phenomenal. And I thank for Women's Scotland because they pose this question. This is only a button.
Paula, but I'm just going to interrupt just because we need to bring Freda back in because I just want to get the balance right on this. Freda, come back in. What would you like to say to what Paula said there?
I think we can all fully understand there are certain situations where sex does matter in law. But the problem is she's aligning the word paedophile with me in a conversation, and that is very dangerous. Now, what I would also say is this is incremental. You have to look at what is happening in America at the moment and look at the policies of Trump, because these are the policies of sex matters, and there are no prizes for women at the end of the gender critical movement because it doesn't actually support feminism. It rejects feminism, and you can observe that in the people that support it. Lawrence Fox was very happy about this today. Why is Lawrence Fox happy? Because he's a misogynist. And this is where we're going with this. So if you want to go down this route, this Trumpian route...
Do women like myself or Paula have internal misogyny, Freda? Just because Lawrence Fox celebrates this?
I don't think it's funny, Emily.
I'm sorry, but that's a ridiculous statement that just because someone who you believe to be misogynistic
Emily,
has celebrated something, that therefore it's misogynistic.
Yes, but it's a pattern of misogyny that we see. Look at why does Elon Musk support J.K. Rowling?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Well, because this is the misogyny. I didn't get into this by writing about trans issues. I wrote about the far right. I can't tell you who I work for, because if I do, I will get threats. I will get people emailing me to my employer to try and get me fired. So I can't tell you who I research for, and that is a real serious problem.
Well, we don't want that. Paula, do you want to come back?
Of course. I mean, we need to protect children and women from rapists, from pedophiles, and this is something we have to say over and over again. The Gender Recognition Act poses a threat to women and children and young girls, because any man can go into their spaces pretending they have a certificate, a gender recognition certificate.
Can I just say one thing to that?
Yeah, Freda, come back in just for a second.
I just want to say one thing.
You had a long say earlier. Paula, we're just going to... We'll come back, Paula, I promise. We'll come back to you. You had a long thing to say, and it was a weighty charge, so let's let Freda speak to it.
All I want you to do between you, when this goes on to social media, if this goes on to X, have a look at the comments under it directed at me. Analyse those comments and extrapolate from that exactly what I'm talking about. And you will have to... this is the media you put out. This is why no trans people will talk to you. Well, this is why the only reason I'm here is because I keep banging on your door.
Well, Freda, that is a good point, because this ruling does say that transgender people will be protected, just not with female sex-based rights. Paula, it is true that a lot of trans people will get a lot of hate online, particularly on social media. How do we protect against that? Does this ruling protect or help, protect transgender people to live as they wish to, whilst protecting female rights?
Emily, this is ridiculous. Sorry. I mean, we are not talking about the hatred and accusation that feminists and women's advocates like myself get on a daily basis if they talk against gender ideology. It goes
both ways, yeah.
Well, we are called Nazis. Welcome. And you know what? I despise victimhood culture. I just despise it. It's not about me and you. It's about protecting children and women of this country. It's about protecting the ones who are most vulnerable.
You're not protecting anyone.
Can you let
You're not protecting anyone.
Can you let me talk? See how they respect women. They're always banging on being kind with them. Poor us, poor us. What about being kind with women?
No, I'm very strong and I will counter you.
I mean, they should silence you because you can't just shut.
I'm not trying to silence you. I'm telling you where you were wrong. That's as simple as that. It's simple.
Okay, well...
What I'm saying is that the Gender Recognition Act, that is a horrible piece of legislation.
Can I just say one thing?
Let's leave it there. We really appreciate both your inputs, just because we're speaking over each other quite a lot. But Paula, Diana, thank you very much indeed, and Freda Wallace, really appreciate your pretty much instant reaction to this Supreme Court ruling. So there you go, both sides of the debate there, strongly for you on this.